Oh, shut up, Steve, and grow up. How are we doing, everybody? It's Kev Ashford back here on the biggest Man United fan channel in the land. It is the United Stand, and this is your van cam for Chelsea versus Manchester United. We're going to have to look back briefly, if we can do that. What the hell was there to look back as Brentford won, Manchester United won, and a game again. How many times am I going to say it this season? But I mentioned it in the build-up to the Brentford game that pretty much this season, Man United has been one step forward, two steps back, and it struck again in awful fashion. It was awful. It was an absolute disgrace to watch. I felt like I'd just wasted 90 odd minutes of my life. And I hate saying that about Manchester United, because in the lead up to the game, you're getting excited and you're thinking, yes, you know, we need to really now push on for top four. Maybe fifth place might be enough. But we have looked at the likes of Villa and Tottenham previous to that game winning, and we were like, we know what we need to do. It almost became, well, it was a must-win game in the grand scheme of trying to qualify for the Champions League. Very, very slim hopes at this moment in time, but as long as it is physically possible, you know, as your man would say, what's his name? You're telling me there's a chance of Dumb and Dumber. We are into that territory now. We are clutching at straws. It is still on, but what a difficult week this is going to be, because obviously Chelsea, you never know what you're going to get with them knobheads. You know, it really is like, you know, they are a box of chocolates, especially one of them that you don't know when you're going to get, and you dip in and you don't know what kind of a performance you're going to get from Chelsea. They will be bang up for this against Manchester United. But Ten Hag has done his press conference. After the Brentford game, it was all doom and gloom. And don't get me wrong, it was right. But obviously, Lisandro Martinez come on. I was hoping that would be the lift for the catalyst towards the end of the season. Maybe shore us up at the back a little bit more of a spine, and that player that can bring the ball out for the back. He is now out for a month. Victor Lindelof went off injured as well. And yeah, it was a bit doom and gloom, but Erik Ten Hag has confirmed that Varane, Maguire, and Johnny Evans are back. I know this is where we are at Manchester United. I have got not a bad word to say about Johnny Evans. I think he's been absolutely class. But when I think somebody like me is getting excited and thinking Johnny Evans is back, woo! You know, bring it on. But by God, we are down to the bare bones at the back. So an experienced player like Johnny Evans, especially with a massive week coming up, Chelsea, we've got Liverpool again on Sunday. It makes it a little bit better. You know, the fact that we have, at least we might be able to put a defence out, because straight after the Brentford game, the last few days or whatever, we've been looking and thinking, who are we going to play at the back? You know, and we were terrible against Brentford. I've seen Ricky with his little clip, you know, about Bruno pressing from the front and there was no midfield. There was no midfield because of us. Where's Scott McTominay in all this? Why is nobody mentioning that he was in the two with Mainu? You know, Kobe Mainu was left so exposed in that game. He's doing the running for two people. And yet you've got McTominay. Yes, he's saved Ten Hag's job probably this season, scored really important goals. But for me, I've always said, when you start McTominay, he just goes missing. Ghost mode is activated, and that was clearly evident against Brentford, you know. And it hopefully now as well, with Casemiro being back, maybe if we can get the Casemiro-Mainu partnership back, we might be able to get some control over the midfield, because there was no doubt against Brentford the keeper was playing one pass and just bypassing our whole midfield, which wasn't evident. It wasn't even there. But again, Bruno is such an easy target at this moment in time. People are like, he's just running around like headless chicken. Well, he's always set the press from the front anyway. Like I say, when these passes were splitting through the midfield, where was McTominay? Absolutely, he's trying to do the exact same thing, getting in Bruno's way. He's trying to make the same runs and that. And yeah, I think the criticism of Bruno Fernandes has been fair to an extent this season. I think that there has been a drop-off, and your big name players, especially the captain of the club, but there was positives. There was positives in the shape of Mason Mount getting his first goal. And Erik ten Hag in his press conference has said that he doesn't think he's going to start him. Now, is that mind games? Or are we just reverting back to what ultimately could get Erik ten Hag sacked? It's the same thing that got Ole Gunnar Solskjaer the sack. Friends playing his favourites week in, week out, and it's not working, so why not just mix it up? You know, again, Marcus Rashford, I'm not just singling out one player in particular, but again, just sets that, you know, can't be bothered here. I'm not up for this one. Yeah, but it was all right for them to get up against Liverpool, wasn't it? You know, where did that come from? You know, they were up for it. They were in their faces, the pride, the passion, everything. And yet a drop off against Brentford. And we can't afford to do that now. Every single game from now till the end of the season has to be viewed as a cup final. It really, really does. And for me, Mason Mount did more in the 5-10 minutes, whatever he was on the pitch, than Marcus Rashford did for the whole of the duration of that game that he was on the pitch. Mount used the ball well, passed the ball. I mean, this sounds really basic. Passed the ball, you know, didn't put his head down, start running into blind alleys, just losing the ball unnecessarily, running down blind alleys, get my head down, try and run with the ball. Mason Mount, and there is an argument that maybe Mason Mount could even challenge Bruno Fernandes for that role, because I think we know that role just in behind the striker, a bit further forward in the midfield area, he can play out right wide. And I would like to see him given a chance, because it's been so long out of the Manchester United team that it's almost like signing a new player, getting Mason Mount back. So I would like to see him start. Do I think he would start? I have to go off what Erik ten Hag has said, and I kind of look at it and I think he's not going to start him, and it'll be the usual suspects. Marcus Rashford, you know, what's he got? Has he got it written into his contract that he has to start every game and can't come off to a certain minute towards the end? You know, and a lot of these players, they will drive you absolutely insane. And at the risk of repeating myself, I said at the start of the video, 1 step forward, 2 steps back. That has been United this season, but there has been no level of consistency. Absolutely none at all. I can't even think of one Premier League game this season that we've actually played well for the full duration of a 90-minute game, or whatever it is, 99 minutes these days. I can't think of it. And it's absolute sacrilege, man. You know, we're in April. And it's April. And we're talking about United not playing well for 90 minutes in the Premier League. And even when Mason Mount scored against Brentford, I'm thinking, don't get me wrong, leapt out my seat and everybody's absolutely buzzing. And you're like, we've done it again. We're papering over the cracks. It's smash and grab. Ring the police. You know, we have absolutely had Brentford's pants down, and they absolutely thoroughly deserved to go up the other. That was the absolute least that they deserved. The absolute least. But again, Chelsea will be well up for this. They will be well up for it. And so will Liverpool on Sunday. So it's a bit of a defining week, this. I think there's some little murmurs of speculation that if United were to lose these 2 games, then Erik ten Hag is on the thinnest of thin ice. And listen, again, at the risk of repeating myself on the Erik ten Hag thing, a different manager, I really don't think that a different manager gets any upturn, any new manager bounce with it. You might get it for a few months. They will just settle back into their bad habits. Even the fact of how many injuries we've had, for Christ's sake. What is all that about? 53 individual injuries due to muscle injuries, whatever football-related injuries, and illness. This season. You know, tell me another club that goes through this, that experiences the amount of injuries that we get. You know, and it does beg the question then, you know, the medical department, fit for absolute nothing. You know, what are they absolutely doing? I don't get it. You know, they're about as much use as an inflatable dartboard, and they're not much use. You throw a dart at it, bang, it's popped, it's game over. And maybe we need a total overhaul of that, the medical system, whatever it is, because whatever they are trying to do at Manchester United, it clearly isn't working. But it is Chelsea this evening, I go into it again as this silly knobhead of a supporter where for some reason I get all giddy, but that's parcel of being a fan. But this team will continue to let you down, but at the same time, they just continue to surprise you. So would I be surprised if United went to Stamford Bridge and put in a good performance? The one thing they should do it for is the fact that they've not done it on a regular basis this season, but for the travelling Reds that go to these games, that were at Brentford, you know, not leaving the ground till 10:30 on a Saturday night, they've got to make their way home and that. The same applies a Thursday evening kickoff against Chelsea. And stop with all them Man United London jokes and all that. I'm not having it, and I'm not in the mood for it, man. If you liked what you've seen, please make sure to finger that like button. Forgot to say that earlier. And thanks very much for all the nice comments last week on the Van Cam. Everybody's saying it is part of the match day ritual here on the United stand, which is absolutely great for me. But for United against Chelsea, I'll be back in the van for the Van Cam for the Liverpool game. Building up to that, looking into it and all that. But for United this evening against the Chelsea. We've got to listen to that, haven't we? You've only got one song. That's all you've got. It's time to go out there, show a bit of pride, show a bit of passion, and play some goddamn football. And for United, come on! United! Show some pride!